Hi everyone, I'm Dayna from LoveOzYA, and I'm here today with Meg Gatland-Veness talking about her new book, When Only One, which is released on the 31st of May. Hi Meg, thanks for joining us.
No worries.
So this is your second YA novel after I Had Such Friends, which came out I think in 2018, 2019?
Yeah.
Right? Yeah, excellent.
2018, I think.
2018, yeah, that's what I thought. And my first question is really just for those people who haven't read the book, which is most people because it hasn't been released yet. Can you tell us a bit about what it's all about?
Sure. So it's set in a small Australian town, very similar to the town in I Had Such Friends. And it's basically, it starts with this school shooting. So this awful, terrifying incident that happens at this school, but we don't know who the shooter is or who the victims are or anything. We just know that this has happened, and then the book jumps back to 1 year earlier, and then you get to find out all the things that led up to this moment, and then try and work out who you think the killer is and who you think the victim is or whatever. We don't really know what's happening. And the main character is this boy, Sam, who is a surfer. He's training for the Ironman. And it's really about him dealing with things in his life and relationships and friendships, and especially this friend of his, Emily, who's going through a bit of a tough time at home, and him trying to help her with some of those things. So there's a lot going on. But yeah.
There certainly is a lot going on in the book. There's so much to it. And I have so many questions, but I'll start with what inspired you to write this story?
It's a tricky question, but I'm a teacher. So what I usually say to my students when they're trying to do creative writing is I say, write about things that make you really mad. And it really makes me so angry that people are able to just buy a gun and shoot other people with it. Like, that's just something that I really, really hate that can happen. So that's one of the things I wanted to sort of tell that story. But I really, usually when I'm writing, I start with the characters first and then develop the plot. So I had these ideas for these characters, Sam and Emily and Ray, and then and their sort of relationships with each other, and then the story kind of came from there. So kind of two things, I suppose. But also I wanted to, once again, similar to my first book, just shine a light on, Australian teenage issues and the things that are happening in towns in Australia, as opposed to other countries, like try to write a very Australian story.
Yeah, it certainly is that. So my other question around that, because obviously there is a lot of media coverage around school shootings, particularly in America and things like that. Why did you decide to make it set in 1987?
Well, it's kind of because the first book, I Had Such Friends, and this book are actually sort of part of a series.
I wondered that.
Yeah, so it's not technically a series because every book has different characters, but it's all in the same world. In the same universe. So you might notice that some of the characters in this book show up in I Had Such Friends as much older. I Had Such Friends is set in 1990. So that's why, it's because it's part of a bigger overall storyline. And there's a lot of other books in the making that will fill in the gaps in between those two books, and then there's some before and some after, sort of.
Okay. So there's quite a few books there in your head that you're just waiting to write then.
Yeah, well, I'm working on another one now that happens in between I Had Such Friends and When Only One, but then there's another 8 or so possible in the making books as well that will fit into the series.
Okay, so and is the plan to sort of work right up to current day, or do you really like sort of working historically?
The most modern one is set in about 2014, but I do like setting them, before mobile phones.
Yeah.
And because mobile phones often ruin the suspense aspect of stories, because you can just call someone and ask them. So I kind of like setting it a bit before technology developed, so there's that sort of sense of urgency that we don't really have now, and just sort of celebrating more simpler things, I suppose.
Yeah. Wow, that's amazing. So I'm just fascinated by the fact that you've got so many books that you're planning to write and in your head. So I'll ask a question about your writing process then. I mean, you say you start with the characters, but it sounds like you've sort of got a few books sort of at least mentally plotted out. Is that how you work? You tend to plot them all out before you start writing them?
Yeah, so I've got, let's say there's about 10 or so books. Some of them, it might just be I have a couple of characters in mind and that's it. But others, when I get to the actual writing stage, I like to sort of plan out approximately 25 chapters-ish, and then I'll plan out what's going to happen in each of those chapters. And then I might write chapter 11 today, and then I might write chapter 4 tomorrow. I just sort of write, whichever bit I'm feeling at the time. So I don't always write in chronological order, but I do sort of plan it out first and then sort of dip into whatever bit I'm feeling at the time.
I see. Wow. So it's sort of having that plan gives you that flexibility to write what you feel like writing then, it sounds like.
Yeah, exactly. Because if I started from the beginning, I might get stuck and think, oh, I don't know what is going to happen next. Whereas if I have a plan, I can just forget about chapter 2 and I could write the very last chapter or any other chapter in there.
Oh, wow. Excellent. And you mentioned that being a high school English teacher, you also wanted to shine a light on some of the issues that modern teens are sort of going through. What do you hope readers will take away from the book?
I guess I hope that teenagers or kids living in rural areas especially will understand that they're not alone. They're not the only people dealing with these kind of things, and that there is help available if you ask for it or if you look for it. And I think there's also there's a lot of things in this book about helping your community and helping each other out. There's a lot of sort of charity work going on, and some of the students at the school start a social justice club to try and think of ways to help the more disadvantaged students at the school. So I guess I'm hoping that maybe some of those sort of things might inspire teenagers or youths or whatever to try and make a difference, maybe just in their town. You don't have to change the whole world. You could just try and help one person at your school who might be doing it tough. That would be my hope, I guess, my dream, that maybe even if just one person wanted to do one thing, then that would be nice.
Yeah. Oh, well, that's a fantastic reason for writing, and I could definitely see that coming through. It certainly is very inspiring, because there are some really complex issues that are discussed in the book. A lot of very adult things that are happening that are affecting the teenagers with alcohol abuse, domestic violence, death, all of these sorts of things. So I think something like that, like, often can feel very overwhelming for people.
Yeah.
So
and I think sorry.
No, you go.
I hope that in the book there's a couple of easy, simple, small things you can do to help. Because I think sometimes if you have a friend who's going through something, it seems so overwhelming and you don't know how can you possibly help them. But sometimes even the smallest little thing, like just baking them some cookies, or helping them with their homework, or lending them some clothes or whatever, just small things can really make a big difference. So,
Absolutely, because it often is the small things that we remember, I think. or that can have a big impact on us. Yeah, when we're in something big. Well, thank you so much, Meg. I really appreciated you taking some time to talk about the book, and good luck on the release date, the 31st of May. I encourage everyone to go out and read this book because it is a fantastic one. And yeah, it's a really good read. So thanks, Meg.
Thank you very much.